Breaking news. Ukraine is putting Germany's brand new HX-2 drones to the test. It is January 30, 2026. Thousands of these AI-powered killer drones have arrived at the front. But leaked reports are suggesting a pretty shocking twist in their performance. Are they the mini-Taurus miracle weapon that was promised, or just a high-tech disappointment? Before we jump in, if you stand with Ukraine and want the truth from the battlefield, please subscribe to Defense Reports. It's your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Area and the latest podcast by Defense Report for sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we're going to cover the huge controversy surrounding the German Helsing HX-2 drone. We are talking about a 35% hit rate, serious allegations of missing AI components, and, well, a clash between Western tech labs and the brutal reality of the Ukrainian front line. We have a massive deep dive for you today. This isn't just about one drone. We are really looking at a collision of philosophies. We're going to get into this plywood versus AI debate.
Right, why a simple wooden drone might actually be outperforming a billion-dollar AI swarm. It sounds crazy.
It does. And we'll also uncover the details of this huge drone wall planned for NATO's eastern flank and whether it's even feasible.
And maybe the most surprising part, a Ukrainian interceptor that costs, what, about $1,100?
Less than a gaming laptop.
Yeah.
And it's hunting Russian recon drones at 200 kilometers an hour.
It really is the ultimate test case, you know. We're seeing what happens when Silicon Valley-style promises meet the mud, the jamming, and just the sheer chaos of the Donbass. It's messy, it's controversial, but it's also where the future of warfare is being written right now.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the hype, right?
Right.
Because the expectations for this German HX-2 drone were, they were sky high.
They absolutely were. On paper, it sounds like the future. It's made by Helsing, this huge German defense AI company that everyone's been watching.
And it's not just a standard drone, it's a loitering munition, a kamikaze drone.
But designed with a very, very specific philosophy in mind.
The specs are, you have to admit, incredibly impressive. A range of 100 kilometers, that's 62 miles. It hits a top speed of 220 kilometers per hour. And it has this really unique X-wing configuration.
That design is actually pretty brilliant. It's trying to solve a core problem. Fixed-wing drones need a runway. Quadcopters can take off from anywhere, but they're slow, short range.
So this mixes them.
Exactly. The wings give it range and speed, but the rotors give it vertical takeoff and landing VTOL. You can launch it from a tiny forest clearing, a trench, the back of a truck.
Which is a huge deal for Ukrainian forces who can't be setting up launch rails well under artillery fire. And the German media, especially Bild, they were calling this the mini-Taurus. Anyone following this knows the Taurus cruise missile is the one weapon Ukraine has been begging for. So that nickname, it sets the bar incredibly high.
It creates this massive psychological expectation. But the comparison isn't about explosive power, it's about intelligence. The real selling point wasn't the wings, it was the brain. It runs on something called the Ultra software platform.
Okay, you have to break that down for me. Software-defined gets thrown around a lot. What does that actually mean for a soldier on the ground?
Well, think of it like a remote-controlled car versus a self-driving Tesla. A standard FPV drone needs a constant radio link. If that link gets cut, the drone is just a dumb brick. It falls.
Right.
A software-defined drone like the HX-2 is a robot. You give it a mission, and the software handles the flying itself.
And this is supposed to be the answer to the #1 problem on the front line, Russian electronic warfare.
The jamming. It's constant. It's everywhere. The Russians just saturate the airwaves with noise. The HX-2's big promise was that it didn't need to hear the pilot. If the connection is cut by a jammer, the onboard AI is designed to just take over.
So it keeps going.
It keeps going. The camera looks at the ground, the computer identifies a tank, matches it to a database, and dives autonomously.
So it's fire and forget. And they talked about swarms too, right? Not just one?
Theoretically, yes. A single operator could command a whole swarm. The drones talk to each other, coordinate attacks from multiple angles to overwhelm air defenses.
And the production scale is massive. Helsing built a whole resilience factory in Germany. They're supposedly churning out 1,000 of these a month.
For 6,000 total pledged to Ukraine. So volume, AI, swarm tactics. It absolutely sounds like a game changer.
That was the promise.
It was.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting and frankly a bit concerning. The reality check hit hard. We have reports from Bloomberg and the German outlet Welt, and they're talking about a leaked report dated November 20, 2025.
Straight from a unit reporting to a German general, Günther Schneider. And the numbers in it are, Well, they're a wake-up call.
They're shocking. I mean, the report documents 14 combat missions.
And out of those 14, the HX-2 only hit its target 5 times.
5. That's a 35.7% accuracy rate.
For a so-called precision weapon, that is abysmal. If you're a soldier relying on that to stop a tank, a 35% chance just isn't good enough.
But it gets worse. I mean, forget hitting the target. They had trouble just getting off the ground.
Yeah, this part is almost unbelievable.
The report says that during tests with the 14th Regiment, only 25% of the drones successfully launched.
Let's just pause on that. 3 out of every 4 drones failed to even launch.
How does that happen? How does a billion-dollar tech company build a drone that doesn't fly?
The report points to mechanical failures with the catapults. And this is a classic, painful lesson. In a lab in Germany, it's clean, it's dry, it's room temperature.
And in the Donbass,
it's freezing. Everything is covered in thick, sticky mud. Equipment is getting thrown around. The environmental stressors just exposed flaws that the lab tests never could.
the mud test. If it doesn't work in the mud, it doesn't work in Ukraine. But for the few that did launch, why did they miss? I thought the whole point of the AI was that it was unjammable.
And this is the most controversial part of the leak. The reports allege that the models sent to Ukraine for these tests were missing the key AI components.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me they sent the smart drone without the brain?
They were allegedly missing the terminal and mid-course guidance modules.
Why on earth would they do that?
A few theories. Maybe the software just wasn't ready. Or, and this is very common in defense, it's fear of technology transfer. If your most advanced AI drone crashes and the Russians get it, they can reverse engineer it. So sometimes export versions are deliberately dumbed down.
But that creates a paradox.
Yeah.
Right, you send a dumbed-down drone to test it, and of course it fails the test because it's been dumbed down.
Precisely. Without that AI backup, the moment the drones hit the Russian EW wall, the link was severed. The pilot lost control. The drone was lost.
The immunity wasn't there because the software that provides the immunity wasn't even installed.
And the operators were apparently furious. The report mentioned rigid touch control technology. The interface was clunky. They had to fight the controls, which led to crashes.
Yeah. So, is this a scandal? Did Helsing just sell Ukraine a lemon?
Well, we have to be careful. Because Helsing has come out swinging. They claim the reports are totally misleading.
Of course they would.
Hmm.
But do they have any proof to back that up?
They argue that the hit rate in officially documented first flights was encouraging, but here's the kicker. They claim that 6 different Ukrainian units have requested the drone anyway. And they say the specific unit that ran those failed tests has requested another 1,000 units?
Stop. That makes absolutely no sense. If my car only started 1 out of 4 times, I wouldn't go back and order 1,000 more.
I know, it could be desperation, or it could be the Silicon Valley approach to war.
What do you mean?
You release a beta version, it breaks, you collect the data, you send a patch. Those failures might be the most valuable data Helsing has ever collected. The Ukrainians might be willing to endure the failures to help train the algorithm.
So the Ukrainian soldiers are basically unpaid beta testers.
In a way, yes. Remember, in controlled trials in the UK and Germany, the HX-2 had a nearly 100% hit rate. But those places aren't being jammed by Russian systems. Ukraine is a brutal, rapid feedback loop.
And to be fair to Helsing, we should look at the competition.
We should. Another German company, Stark Defense, tested their Virtus drone. 4 launches, 0 hits, and 1 of them caught fire.
0 for 4 in a fire. Okay, suddenly that 35% hit rate doesn't look quite as bad.
Exactly. It shows you how desperate NATO countries are to build up this domestic production. They know they're behind.
Speaking of which, I want to pivot now, because while these big Western companies are struggling, the Ukrainians are innovating with plywood.
This is the perfect example of asymmetric innovation. Before the HX-2, Helsing supplied an earlier model, the HF-1, and yes, the body is made of simple plywood.
Like from a hardware store. It sounds like a high school shop project.
But here's the genius of it. We spend billions on stealth composites, but plywood. It's naturally radar transparent. Radar waves just pass right through it.
So being low-tech actually makes it high-tech stealth.
To certain radar bands, yes. And it's a thermal insulator. It masks the engine's heat signature better than a thin metal body would. It's harder for a Russian air defense system to lock onto a piece of wood.
That is just incredibly clever. And I assume it's dirt cheap.
Extremely. And it's not just wood drones. We have to talk about General Cherry.
General Cherry, what a name.
It's a Ukrainian company. And they've built the Air Pro. It's an interceptor drone.
An interceptor. And the cost is the real headline here, right?
$1,141 per unit.
$1,100. An artillery shell costs more than that. A Western interceptor missile can cost $100,000.
And this thing is fast. 200 kilometers per hour. It has one job: hunt and kill Russian reconnaissance drones.
The Orlans, the Zales, the eyes of the Russian artillery.
Exactly. If you can blind them, the artillery goes quiet. And for this price, you can afford to send 2 or 3 air pros after a single Russian recon drone and not even blink.
Is this official? Is the Army actually using them?
Yes, it's been codified, and it's available on their DOT chain defense system.
Which is their digital military marketplace.
Think of it as Amazon for the Ukrainian military. A commander logs in, sees he's low on interceptors, clicks order, and a crate of air pros is on its way. It cuts out all the bureaucracy.
That's incredible. And the takeaway is pretty clear, isn't it? Ukraine is favoring good enough, cheap, and fast over perfect, expensive, and complex.
They have to. They're pushing this Build with Ukraine initiative to move manufacturing into the country. They need to close that transparency gap between a lab in Munich and a trench in the east.
It's agility versus bureaucracy.
Right.
But speaking of big plans, this HX-2 situation isn't just about Ukraine. It's the foundation for a massive strategic plan for NATO.
It is. Helsing has proposed something they're calling the drone wall.
A drone wall.
The idea is to deploy a defensive line of thousands of these HX-2 drones all along NATO's eastern flank. The Baltics, Poland, a 3,000-kilometer line.
An autonomous shield. A Russian tank column crosses the border, the wall activates, and a swarm engages them.
That's the vision, combined with satellites for intelligence and surveillance.
But I have to ask, we just talked about how these things have a 35% hit rate and struggle to launch in the mud. Isn't building a wall out of them a little premature?
That is the billion-dollar question, and it's a huge strategic risk. If you build a wall out of bricks that crumble when a jammer is turned on, you don't really have a wall. You have an illusion.
So what's Helsing's argument?
It goes back to the software. They'd say the hardware is just the shell. Because it's software-defined, they can update the entire wall instantly. If Russia develops a new jamming technique on Tuesday, NATO could push a software patch on Wednesday, and every single drone in that 3,000-kilometer wall is instantly upgraded.
So it's a bet on the code. A bet that the software engineers can stay one step ahead of the Russian EW units.
It's a huge bet. And right now, the politics in Berlin are getting tricky. The German government is reportedly pausing future orders of those 6,000 drones until Ukraine confirms the problems are fixed.
So the money is frozen until the hit rate goes up.
Yep.
That puts immense pressure on everyone.
On Helsing to deliver and on Ukraine to make it work.
It really feels like we're watching a live experiment. We have the Silicon Valley model of release, fail, patch, clashing with the garage model of build it cheap and make it work.
And we have to remember, for us, it's a fascinating deep dive. For the Ukrainians, it's about survival. They just need something that hits the target.
Absolutely. And seeing that local innovation like the Air Pro is just, it's so heartening. It shows that true resilience is about adaptability.
I agree. The fact that they're trying to integrate all of it, the high-end German AI drones alongside cheap local interceptors, shows real strategic depth.
So to wrap this all up, we have this tension. The HX-2 represents the future AI swarms software, but the present Russian jamming mud mechanical failure is currently winning.
That 35% hit rate is a massive wake-up call for the entire Western defense tech industry. It's a tension that isn't going away.
Which leaves you with a really provocative thought. If a billion-dollar AI startup is struggling to outperform a plywood drone or a $1,000 local interceptor, are Western militaries over-engineering their own survival?
That's the question, isn't it? This war isn't just testing weapons, it is testing the entire philosophy of how we build them.
A fascinating and frankly a critical thought to leave us with. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. We'll be keeping a very close eye on the HX-2 and, of course, the General Cherry interceptors. As always, thank you for tuning in. And a quick reminder before you go, subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.